I think that the word couture gets thrown around a lot because there's a very high-end designer that is very well known and they glue on their beads. Like once you start washing that dress, it's just gonna all come off.
Hey Chillas, we are back at Something White, the bridal salon in Independence, Ohio, with owner Rebecca Somnitz and a legend here in the Cleveland area and Midwest, Patrice Catan, formerly of Pat Catan's Craft Centers and Catan Bridal, which I had the honor of working at as a bridesmaids consultant back in 2003, 2004. So Patrice is one of my mentors. And we're talking with these two amazing female entrepreneurs about what it's like being a shop owner, what you should be considering when you're going to a salon to find your gown, and much, much more. So pour yourself a cup of coffee or a glass of wine and get ready because we got a lot of tea to spill and a lot of hot takes to get into. These two are gonna be my favorite bucket, I can tell already. So ladies, welcome to and back to Bridechilla.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate you listening to me for another time.
I listen to you forever, Patrice. And I also am fortunate to be the producer behind Patrice's podcast, formerly Tales from Behind the Veil, which is now Patrice Catan Designs. So go onto YouTube and check that out. Patrice shows us how to make bouquets, centerpieces, and give her hot takes.
I love that. I didn't know that.
Aren't you lucky?
I know.
Aren't you lucky?
We are.
We are really lucky.
I don't know how lucky anybody could be. And they say I'm a legend. I don't know what I'm a legend of, but okay.
Oh, well, let's kind of get into that.
Yeah, you've owned a store for 40 years.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, I have. I've owned that, and I was really 50 years in the art and craft business. So basically, I grew up in business behind my father.
Yeah.
We created crafts in the world. My father was the pioneer in the arts and crafts business.
Love it.
And from there, I went into designing, and everything evolved from pieces, parts that you need for a wedding, and culminated with the gown.
I want to know how your dad got into crafts.
Well, my dad got into crafts. He worked at Cleveland Hobby on Lorraine Avenue after the war. My father was an aeronautics pilot that taught aeronautics in Maine during the war. World War II, he was sent to Nassau and Cleveland and to fix the B-29s that were burning up during the war.
Interesting.
And they fixed him and his buddies. And when he left the service, he actually graduated in all the areas of the service, Army, Navy, whatever.
Yeah.
He left, and he came from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And he met my mother in Cleveland. They ended up getting married in 1947. And
where were they married in Cleveland?
They were married in Cleveland at Our Lady of Angels.
Oh, wow.
On Lorraine. Well, actually, it was on Rocky River Drive. My grandmother lived there, right across the street, facing the monastery.
Do you have your mom's dress?
Did I have my mom's dress? I had my mother's dress for years. It was all satin to the ground with lawn lace sleeves, because back then that's kind of everything was the 40s look.
I mean, I'll take that now.
I know.
I love that.
I would too. Well, you can have mine. It's how many years old? 56.
Where did you get your dress?
I got my dress in Higbee's at Parmatown.
Oh, I love that.
She has it on display in her bedroom.
Yes.
On a mannequin. And I recommend that for people because that looks, when you walk into her space, it's so wonderful and such a treat to get to see her gown.
Is it pine glass?
No.
Oh, so you can like touch it and feel it?
Yeah, it's beautiful.
I love that.
And it was a Priscilla Boston.
Oh,
you know the history of Priscilla Boston?
I had Priscilla. I did not have Priscilla, the main line. When I first opened my store, I had...
Jim Helm.
No, I had Priscilla Boston, but it was her lower end line.
Yes. Well, she had other designers later on.
Yes.
But her top designer was Jim Helm.
Yes.
Who was my best friend.
And you know what happened there?
Well, I know all about Joe Murphy. Yes.
And if you listen to the Haley Page story,
I was
Jim
just going
Helm
to say,
is, yeah.
They were the same.
I love Jim Helm designs.
Yes.
Well, Jim just died. He was 93. He died a couple months ago.
I did not know that.
I'm glad he got to see justice, though.
Yeah, right? He was probably rooting for her behind the scenes.
I think so, too.
Jim was a great, great man. He was trained by Priscilla of Boston.
Oh, wow.
That's where he got his finishing touch on designing, but he was a brilliant designer. He had the Jim Helm design in New York City for many, many years, and you would have to wait outside to get in to see him.
Oh, my goodness.
And the first time I went, nobody knew who I was because I was nobody. I was known in the craft industry, but I wasn't known in the bridal.
And she didn't start in bridal until like around our age.
Right.
She was in her early 40s.
Right.
Yeah, and it was a tough one to get through the door.
Well, it still is. I think you have to find the designers that aren't just in it for the money and are looking for partnership.
Well, with that, actually, because I think it's important for our couples to know this. When going to a salon, how do you choose your gowns? Because, you know, we got some insight when we went to market, what your take is on market, and then selecting the gowns from these designers to know what you need to have in your store. How many, which designer, price point.
Yeah.
There's a lot that goes into it.
I know. I think everybody thinks like, ooh, that's so fun. I want to go to market. I'm like, I actually hate market. I hate it because it's cutthroat and it is, you're running all over the place and it's very overwhelming. It takes a lot to like sift through too. Like it takes time.
Oh, I agree. The problem is when I first started, I educated myself pretty quickly, and that was only because I had the background of business with my father.
Yes.
So my father would say, don't sign anything, don't do anything.
Correct.
My biggest complaint at market is this.
I can't wait.
They want minimums.
Yes.
You give them the minimums. They say you've got territory. Say it's 50 miles, 100 miles. I mean, there was designers that we sold hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, down the street, somebody's got 6 samples.
Right.
And is open to the whole book.
Right.
Okay. What happens? They can cut the price.
Right.
Because they haven't spent the money you have.
Right.
This is a mistake. The minimums are a mistake. I know they need it for cutting tickets, but
I don't believe in minimums. But
I don't believe in minimums.
I don't either.
I argued, they had me on a bridal board for quite a while, and I don't think they wanted to listen to me anymore. Because I said, you don't know the other end of the story as a business person. Minimums have to be cut down.
Yes.
And you have to select what you can sell, because if you select what you can sell, you know, you go twice a year, spring and fall, okay?
Yes.
Well, that's a lot of money.
It sure is.
I mean, you could put in 25,000, 50,000. It just depends what market you're in.
Yes.
In our case, we were in all the markets, you know, mother's prom,
Yeah, you were in all of it.
Maids.
you know, bridal, headpieces, jewelry, whatever it was, my foot was in the door. And sometimes that's a mistake.
Yeah.
Because the minimums kill you.
Yeah.
So to some of them, I'd go in and say, is this what I have to buy now?
And they'd say yes.
And they go, well, how else do you think you're going to get it? I said, I don't know. Maybe I'll go down the street and see who's going to give me a better deal. And maybe I won't come back.
Sure.
But they always stick to this and then complain about sales.
Yes.
And it's a slippery slope, because now with the economy the way it is and all, it's a little bit harder to go to market and even spend $20,000.
Yeah.
Because you need a return on your profit.
I think it's interesting because I don't think brides realize, I mean, and why would they? Why would they realize the background? But I don't think they realize when they walk into a store that I own and have purchased all the dresses that you see. It's not like the designers are giving those to me for free. So it takes a lot of time and energy, and I think that's why sometimes brides get annoyed that we ask them to pick up the train when they're walking or whatnot. Like, we want to keep them in good order.
You have to clean makeup off of it. You have to clean up, which there's, you know, a little bit of makeup. But it happens all the time. Like when I worked in Bridesmaids with her, all the time. It was that, there'd be a ripped seam because they were trying to get into it.
It happens. It happens.
It's just, you have to fix it, but you're also having to pay for that.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
it's not, like you said, you're not getting it for free from the designer in the hopes of selling it.
Right. No.
You're buying it in the hopes you can buy more of that.
What do you get your spots off with?
Oh, should I tell you my secrets? I feel like I have a process.
I'll tell you mine.
Okay, well, I'll tell you mine, and you probably have a better one, but I swear by shout wipes. So what I do is, well, let me tell you, I have a process. I told you.
Go
so
ahead.
I take my shout wipe and I get the stain and I get the stain out, but you can't just leave it. Then you have to go in and you have to feather out with a wet rag, and then after it's feathered out enough, then I have to take a hairdryer and I have to dry it off so you don't get a ring, because otherwise you'll get a ring from the shout wipe. But knock on wood, shout wipes work really well for me.
I would guess they would. There's something easier, 100%
Let me
green
hear.
alcohol.
Oh, yeah?
We used to buy it by the case.
And you just put it, do you still have to do the process of feathering it out and
Nothing.
everything? Nothing?
It comes right out and there's no ring. And especially for your silk dresses.
Yes.
It's 100% grain alcohol.
Okay.
And all you do is put it on. There's no ring. It comes off. You're done. Now, if you have a polyester dress, you just throw it in the washing machine.
So many people, I hear stories that so many bridal shops that have lots of polyester dresses, they actually keep washing machines in the back and they just throw them
we
in.
did.
Yeah.
We did.
I couldn't imagine.
Oh, it was no problem. You drip dried them like a shirt.
Yeah.
And they came out beautiful.
Isn't that wild?
For those not familiar, Patrice used to have Catan Bridal in a suburb of Cleveland, Ohio, Strongsville, and it was considered one of the largest and top bridal shops in the country. I mean, it was up there with Kleinfeld's, and maybe even bigger than Kleinfeld's at one point.
Was Kleinfeld's around at the same time?
It was in Brooklyn.
Yeah, well, I
Right?
knew Hedda Kleinfeld.
I was
Now,
just gonna
She
say.
was the brains.
Yeah.
Hedda was the brains.
I could see that.
And I ran into her 1978 when I tried to get into Galena, and she was standing behind me with a writer for Brides magazine, Naomi Cherub.
Oh my goodness.
And Mr. McFitzsimmons says, I don't know who you are and I can't let you in. And I said, well, that's fine, because when I make it the largest salon in the United States, I will never buy from you.
Right.
So make up your mind what you want.
Yeah.
Well, Hedda was behind me, didn't know her. She went up to him. She said, let that girl in. She's spunky.
I
We'll
like
take care
that.
of her. That's how I got in. Well, I was Jim's best friend.
Yeah.
Because Galena back then, Galena, Bianchi, they, Fink Brothers, those were your top lines.
Yes.
Diamond Industry, Skazi, they
Oh
were
my God, Diamond.
out
like
of sight.
Yeah.
And of course, they're all gone away
Right.
by the wayside over the years. But you really had to prove yourself or they didn't even look at you.
Yeah, I know.
And I said, well, I pay my bills. And I
Here we
said,
go.
I don't know if that's a plus or a minus, but I would say in your industry, it should be a plus.
Oh, absolutely.
So with the shop, it had started off as this like Gone with the Wind plantation looking building. And when I started working for Patrice and Bridesmaids in 2003, she was in the middle of starting to expand it out. And she took this whole area and made it this superstore where it was the couture in the front, bridal, and then it became like headpieces and shoes, bridesmaids, mothers, and then there's a whole open like warehouse in the back that was discount dresses, prom, and then by 2012 you had a stage back there and we're doing fashion shows. You had built out an area that was going to be a cafe or was a cafe.
There was a cafe.
And then you
yes.
had where you can rent decor.
I bought my
Yes.
prom dress from you.
Yeah.
Oh, did you? Oh,
My
God.
sophomore year prom dress, I'll never forget it. I was so excited about it.
Who was it by? Can you remember?
No, I do not remember. But I actually went there because my sister was going to prom and I was a sophomore and she was older and she was going for prom. And I had been asked because I was a sophomore and it was a junior-senior prom. And so, but when my sister went to go pick out her dress, I found this blue dress and it was before I was asked, but I was like, it's so beautiful. It was satin on the bottom, velvet on top, and it was a halter and then a little row of flowers. And I went back and bought it. And you had the money machine at that time.
Oh,
Do you
yes.
remember the
I
money
totally
machine?
forgot about it until she brought it up before you got here.
That thing was, I was so excited to use the money machine.
And we say money machine. It's like Rebecca got in it.
Yeah,
Shoved
you
it in
get
this
in
giant
it,
rectangle box.
and you put all these dollar bills,
And then you just grab.
and then you turn it on.
And you think it's going to be easy. I thought it was going to be easy.
No.
I think I got $4.
Yeah, well, that could happen.
But you got $4 off your dress.
I know.
Back to choosing the dresses.
Yeah.
How do you decide how many to get from a designer and which designers to work with your particular salons? Because every salon's going to be different.
Sure. For me, it's tons of research. It's visual research too. So Instagram, Pinterest, and then what other people are hearing in the industry that I'm friends with. And then once I find dresses that I like and that I think are pretty, do they do wholesale? Okay, some of the ones that are really pretty, they're really pretty because they're their own designers and they're not doing wholesale. Like they only produce their own designs. So, okay, now they do wholesale. Are they in the price point I want to be? Because I'm just like a bride, right? Like I see something beautiful. I don't know if it's $5,000 or $20,000. Then I find out if they're in my price point. If they're in my price point, this is great. Now I have to find a way to meet them. Usually you meet them at market, and that's kind of where you start your relationship building. Are we going to be a good fit? I'm not going to be a high volume store. Are you okay with that? What are everybody's expectations? Things like that. It's not easy.
Yeah, because you're more boutique versus like a David's Bridal, we'll say, right? Which is higher
Or
volume
just like
and
a
more.
bigger salon that
Yeah.
has more designers and they run their business different. I am the only person who runs my store. So I take all my appointments, I do all my ordering, I do everything. There's other stores that are in the same price point as me, but they have 10 consultants. They're taking 35, 40 appointments a weekend. Like it's just different.
No, I'm glad you said that because then that goes to her consultant education right here.
Yeah.
Because compared to how it used to be, you've pointed out and want to make it known that consultants need better education.
Oh, there's a great demand. I've been in and out of a lot of bridal salons, and what I see, I'm horrified.
Yeah, she's had a few family members get married in the last couple of years. Her son's getting married coming up, so she was just helping her soon-to-be daughter-in-law, and you've just had some crazy experiences.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about education.
There's a lot.
Now, on this level here, the education comes directly from you, which you've put intense skills in teaching yourself exactly what's going on. And no matter what age we are and how many years we're in something, you can always re-educate yourself
Absolutely.
on another level.
Never stop learning.
According to what goes on as far as fashion is concerned, you could reteach yourself every 10 minutes because you never know what they're going to come up with that's going to be the next number one thing.
Trends are so fast these
Trends
days.
move too quickly.
Agreed.
And they come in different waves. And we will get into when I did Western Reserve Historical Society back through the years.
Yeah.
That will tell you where a lot of this came from. And the young girls are going to be very surprised what year this all came from. By getting back to education, we need to educate the consultants. When I started, the first thing I did was any girl that was coming in as a consultant, number one, had to have an artistic background because you have to have art in you to be able to even talk this. That's just how it is.
Or you have to love it.
Well, you have to love it, but you really have to have an eye.
Yes.
Let me say
Oh, yes.
the word
You need- yes,
differently.
yes,
The
yes.
eye.
I would
the
agree.
eye of what you see and how you see the total look.
Yes,
From
agreed.
A to Z.
No
And you can
woman's
envision
shade.
it. Like
Yeah.
people are always asking me, how did you choose that veil to go with this dress? I'm like, I don't know. I just see it in my mind and it just
Exactly.
feels like the proportions are right and
The
everything.
proportions. So you're saying the same as me.
Yeah. Yes.
Now, education is that the consultants must be educated at the time they're dealing with the brides. Absolutely. In my case, the size of the salon, I had women in couture department that had already worked high-end merchandise, but I still oversaw them. Okay, I was the type of owner like you that I was in and out of every room all the time.
Yeah.
So I kind of always knew what was going on.
Yes.
And if something was mistakenly said, I corrected it.
Correct.
Now, on the main floor was your basic merchandise of wedding gowns and beautiful pieces, various prices. Those girls had to work with me 90 days before they were on their own.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And if they didn't make the cut, then they were out.
Right.
That's the way it was. And what I had to teach them was a lot of things. And quickly we could say, first of all, you have to sit down with the client. You have to read them, what their personality is, what their likes are, what their dislikes are, what color they like. Do they like plain? Do they like beaded? What suits them in their mind that they would be comfortable wearing? Mm-hmm. Now, this can't be on a computer. Some of them do a backup on a computer. To me, that's worthless. You're not looking at the person.
Right. I actually do it both ways.
Okay,
So
well, that's fine.
when they make an appointment, they fill out all this information so that I can go into my appointment with some knowledge of what I think they are thinking they want.
That's correct.
And then when we're together, then I'll be like, okay, these are the dresses you think that you're going to like. Here are ones that I think you might like. What vision are we going for?
And then you can know what place you're going to get married.
Oh, yeah. I'm always
season.
asking for your location because I feel like your location sets the tone for your wedding and it answers a lot of questions.
That's correct. So everything sets the tone. So in your case, you did it double.
Yes.
When I first started out, there wasn't a lot computer.
Yeah, no.
So we kind of stuck with, you had a 15-minute meeting with the client before they started. And basically, all my consultants were trained, and they really never were let loose. Because
do you think it's good that you didn't have computers and they didn't have all these images, or do you think it was bad? Do you think it's better now with TikTok and Instagram and websites and...
No, I think the whole thing is a mess. Okay.
I think it's
sorry,
a lot.
But it is a mess.
I feel bad for brides getting married now.
Yeah, it's overwhelming for them.
It's overwhelming.
It's also overwhelming for you as a consultant because now there's so many more designers and you have competition with online retailers. And
that's the biggest problem. The biggest problem is the online retailers make it very difficult because this girl come in and try 10 dresses on that she thinks she'll like the design, finds a design, and goes home and buys it for $199. It's not the dress she saw there. You see? And this went on for years.
Oh, you mean like the knockoffs?
Yeah. Yeah. But now I think it's turning around.
I think that I've been saying this too. I think that girls are overwhelmed because there's so much and you don't know what is a scam and what's not a scam.
Exactly.
That people are coming back to stores to be like, what I see is actually what I see, right?
Yeah.
It's like, this is actually what you're getting.
Correct. It's funny you say the same thing as me. The last few years, I've noticed it's coming around. Like on Broadview, we were very busy. We took care of a lot of clients, and the internet was big then.
Yeah.
And we're only talking a few years ago. But I noticed they clung more but I'm talking about back maybe 15 years ago.
Yeah.
When the internet was on fire with online.
Well, it was all starting.
That was a hard thing to cope
I would think
with.
so.
And I think the problem is, too, they don't understand that there's a lot of service in taking care of them. I mean, we might be with them an hour and a half, 2 hours.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe a little bit longer.
Yes.
We never cut anybody off.
No.
And if they don't buy the first time, we've already got payroll.
So I think that's an interesting thing that I don't think happened while you were around. So I think nowadays salons institute a styling fee. Mm-hmm. So like I have an appointment fee, it's $50 for your appointment. And so if you don't buy a dress, that's fine. If you don't buy a dress, but at least
your time's not being wasted.
Right.
That's something we were talking about at Market.
For free.
We talked about that at Market. I was on the cusp of doing that.
Yeah.
a few years ago, and I hesitated because I had never
it's different
done it.
Right.
And I thought, what are they going to say? They're used to
Well, I
me.
mean, that's kind of like, are you going to alienate a certain market of brides? Are you going to?
So I took the other route. I was like, I'm instituting it. I actually think we were the first in Cleveland to institute a fee. And I was like, I don't work for free. So if this is not going to work out, then I need to find something else to do.
And I will tell you what you did was correct.
Yeah. I just
'Cause
feel like
now that's a national
If they
thing.
buy the gown, do you put that money towards the gown?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and that's the way I think it should be done. Because it is a long time to spend
because
with a client. And
a lot of them play.
they do.
And then you have a lot of realistic people that will buy.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't waste somebody's time 3 times in a row and still not buy the gown.
Right.
There's payroll involved.
Tell me your bustles. What's your preferred
This
bustle?
had ruffles in the back.
Oh, okay.
So because of the ruffles, I would do an under bustle.
I love under bustles.
And I like them with ribbons.
So do I.
I don't like the buttons.
Oh, I don't. My seamstress doesn't do buttons. We do. We do.
Do you think
ribbons.
buttons snag more?
No, buttons
I don't
are
know that
very
they
difficult.
hold.
They don't hold
hold.
as well.
Yeah.
I mean, there is some cases you have to use them, but then you have to use a certain button and you have to use a certain thread that is to hold a loop. Some of them are using the wrong thread. I like the ribbon. You mark it 1, 1, 2, 2, take it up like an Austrian curtain. Either way, you're
I love
both
it.
done.
It's so fun.
My girls did that. And I said, this is
and
the
they're
way it's got
so
to be.
pretty. They're
Oh,
so
they're
pretty.
gorgeous.
Under bustles,
So see,
hands
we're
down.
on the same page.
I know. I am not a fan of over bustles. I shouldn't say that. A ball gown over bustle to the waist, I can get on board with sometimes, but I just think an under bustle is
I
so
love an
elegant.
the up this way,
Yeah.
all you see is buttons.
I know.
And then all of a sudden the person's backside sticks out like a duck.
Yeah.
And it's like, what are you doing?
It's like Cinderella.
Yeah.
Would you say that's the worst bustle to
I don't
get?
even know it was like Cinderella. It was like a duck. And
Which
I
one?
said,
Is that
what
the
do you-
worst bustle to get?
Oh, the over bustle?
Yeah.
I think I'm not a huge fan
duck.
of over
No,
bustles.
I'm not I'm right with her.
Yeah.
I really don't like over bustles on like crepe dresses
Oh,
where
God, no.
they take one button and they
No,
take one hook. And then it's like,
absolutely
I was like,
not.
1, how is that going to hold? And 2, it just looks like an
Well,
afterthought.
All they got to do is step on it.
I know.
And it's broke.
I know. Under bustles all the way.
Under bustles, we agree.
Yeah.
See, time
Do you ever
doesn't
say
change.
is
the
there
right thing.
is there a type of dress that doesn't need a bustle besides a short dress? Is there like a sheath or a? I know these answers, but not everyone
I
listening
will
does.
say, okay, I actually also really like, to your point, if you have like a small train, I like ballroom bustles. I know they're not for everybody and you have to be okay with it.
Is it the wrist?
No, it's where it goes up and under. So it's
Oh.
all the same length all the way around.
Yes.
I actually had a ballroom bustle because I had a small train and it just goes under and you have little buttons. But when you take the train down, you'll have this big, thick ring of dirt because it'll just
That's
keep
right.
hitting
Yeah,
the ground,
yeah.
which you have to be okay with. But under bustles are my favorite and then ballroom bustle.
She's correct.
So, I want to know when you're working with customers over the years. I want to know a good story and share an ugly story.
Oh.
Oh,
I mean, it's funny because my clients ask me a lot and moms ask me a lot about bridezillas. They're like, do you get bridezillas? And I was like, no.
It's probably more the moms. Right?
Yeah, I
Moms
really
are the
don't.
Zillas really
Thank
more
you.
often.
I was
right?
like, my brides are usually very sweet and they know what they want. They're very forward. It's the mom. I've had a few moms that have been a little cringy over the years, but I honestly feel like you probably have a lot more because you have a lot more people that you can talk about. But
nutcases?
yeah, I think I've had some pretty good people.
Well, let me tell you. We had a lot of good,
Yeah.
and then we had a lot of was on a rocky road. Now, again, we go back to education. The more the consultant is educated, the easier to control a problem.
For sure.
You don't make it a problem. One of the biggest problems is when a girl comes in, I want to fit and flare. okay, you want to fit and flare.
I always ask, what does that mean to you? Show me pictures of what you think a fit and flare
Yeah,
is.
do you think they get confused with mermaid?
I do. I
Yes,
think a lot of people,
I
and
agree.
I don't expect them to know names.
Right,
Like, just like if I
yeah.
was in any other industry, I wouldn't be expected to know what an accountant code is. Like, I don't know.
Right.
So you don't know what you don't know, but I always like to see a photo of them in something that they like or a photo of something that they have found somewhere else that they like, so I can make sure that we are on the same page of what a fit and flare is.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. A lot of them don't know. And again, it depends the sizing.
Yep.
And
Oh, bridal sizing.
Yeah,
Can we
bridal
discuss this,
sizing.
please?
Well-
you see, you have to remember something. I'm going to give one sentence and she will agree with
Yeah,
me.
I will. I know what you're going to say.
There's no seam allowance in these gowns.
So
No,
she's not
no.
I
falling.
mean, and that, like, no, you cannot take them out. Like, yeah, I
No,
mean,
you
I
can
have,
take
like-
in, but you
That's
can't
my
take out.
I mean, I have I have some seam allowance, but not enough that would make a significant difference in your
Exactly.
sizing. Like, if it's a little snug, maybe we can take it out and like give you a little more ease, but you're not getting a full.
Correct.
Yeah.
Sometimes the sides are clipped to boot.
Yes.
So the point is we have to measure correctly.
Yes.
The dress has to fit the fullest size of the body, depending on the style of the gown.
Yes, I'm a little different. I can do a little more customizations where if your hip is the fullest part and your hip is a 10, I'm going to do your hip as a 10, I'm going to do your waist as a 6, and like your bust as a 4. So I can give the designer those 3 measurements.
Correct, but
and
that's
then they
not common.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
What in high end, that's common.
Yeah.
And when I designed, that was common. I could even add a sleeve. I could
Yes.
change the line.
Right.
Da 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 da.
But
da.
for a lot of these designers,
But
you're
on
going
the
in and
whole,
it's like,
most of your what I would call bread and butter designers, no, there's nothing to let out. And the problem is we have to be accurate because those dresses are mass produced.
well, and I think that trips brides up. And I know when I had gone through it back in the day, like, even though I worked in it and I knew this going into it, it still kind of fucks with you mentally, especially if you're someone like me that has dealt with eating disorders and body dysmorphia in the past, right? You are a 4'6", but your gowns that you're fitting in are 10, 12s.
Yeah.
Like, that can really fuck with someone if you're not having
I
a
had-
strong self-esteem.
I had one designer that she didn't do sizes, she did like hearts, triangle, rectangle, like so that you never knew what.
I can't
like,
see
the size
Patrice being on
chart-
board with that at
the
all.
size chart didn't have any numbers.
Oh,
You
well,
were
I
so
would've
you would
told
never
her
know
where to
what
go.
you would never know what size you were. You're a heart.
That sounds like a clusterfuck for
I
you.
know. It didn't last long.
Well, yeah, she's not here anymore, I don't think. I think due to her size chart, she went to
Right?
the moon.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a nice thought in theory. However,
Yeah.
how do you choose your size? So what is your take on where bridal sizing is today compared to how it's been and where it should go? And for the customer listening, like for our brides, so they know going into this, how can they be prepared when it comes to bridal sizing?
I don't think that you can be because I think, so it's tough, right? Every designer is an artist in their own way. They're gonna have their own patterns. They're gonna have their own size charts, which means that you're gonna be a different size. But it's like anywhere else. Like at J. Crew, you might be a size 2, but at Banana Republic, you're a size 00.
Right.
Or at, wherever, Aeropostale, you're a 4. Like it's just,
That's true.
you never know. I don't think that you should care.
Let's put that out there.
Yeah.
Do
I don't
not
think it
look and
matters.
care about the size
No.
as long as it fits, because it's
Right.
going to make you look amazing.
Right. Like I have a designer who she starts at a 2. I have another designer that starts at a 000. Okay, well, what's the point there? Like, so what are you really? If you really want to know what size you are, you have to look at your measurements, but like, who cares?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I love that.
She's absolutely correct, everything she's saying. But it does become a problem because, again, in her arena here, these are customized.
Yes.
So you have a little bit more playroom. But after you leave this division and go in to the bread and butter lines, you will find out that they're cut maybe 10 at a time,
Yes.
20 at a time. Now what happens, if farther down it goes,
Right.
you lose at least 1/4 of an inch.
Yeah.
Hey, brides-to-be, it's Leah from Bridechilla. Planning a wedding is so exciting, but let's be real. It can also be crazy stressful. What if a hurricane hits your venue or your photographer ghosts you? Don't let unexpected disasters derail your dream day. Bridechilla Wedding Insurance has your back. They cover everything from property damage to vendor cancellations, lost deposits to extreme weather. Seriously, they've thought of everything. Plus, it's super affordable. Head over to bright.co/Bridechilla to get a quote in minutes and get back to the fun stuff like dress shopping. That's brite.co/Bridechilla. Brightco, because even Bridechillas deserve some peace of mind.
You mentioned earlier, I think we were kind of like off conversation, but about how the word couture is thrown around so much in bridal now. Can you explain to our brides the true, definition and to know what actually is couture and what's just like fancy but not technically couture?
Go ahead. Well, I mean, I can tell you what Jim used to tell me, but you.
Yeah, no, I want to hear what Jim had to say.
Well, Jim said first of all, they're cut one by one.
Yes.
They're hand sewn. Like Eva Milady, she designs her own lace and patents it, so she can't be copied. There's always seam allowance allowed if necessary, and they're made of the finest materials.
Yes.
Whether it's a lancen lace, silk satin, organza silks. Again, they're all silks.
Yeah.
And organzas that are the best in the industry. Let's put it that way.
Yeah,
you can
absolutely.
fill into
No,
that.
I agree. And they're made by hand. All the beading is done by hand.
Yes.
I think that the word couture gets thrown around a lot because there's a very high-end designer that is very well known and they glue on their beads. Like once you start washing that dress, it's just gonna all come off.
Well,
What?
And you see too, if you have to hem a dress like that that's glued, and say the beads are at the bottom.
Right.
When my girls used to hem those, they used to hit the beads with a hammer.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
You know
They're
why?
charging couture prices and gluing them on?
I know.
That
Yeah.
pisses me off.
I know.
Well,
That is a fucking scam.
But first of all, it's not
That's why
gonna
you should
hold.
look at it though. Like I don't know that brides actually like look at dresses all that often. I think they look at them when they're in them, but like are they really looking at what it looks like for the construction? I don't know.
Oh, that's a good point.
I'm not sure they would totally understand either.
Right.
Oh, that's true.
They wouldn't really understand. But in order to hem a beaded gown, you have to break the stones. Well, the only way you can hem a gown like that is you have to break all the stones so you don't break the thread, so the rest of it on the dress doesn't
right.
go haywire. You know how many of the hammers we used to have? I was like, what are you?
People probably heard in the background, like, what is going
yeah,
on?
There's a lot of
there?
things being heard around that
Yeah,
salon.
there was a
Let
lot
me
of
tell
things
you.
heard around there. I mean, either there was somebody crying in Bridesmaids.
Oh no.
There's a lot of
In
people crying in
Bridesmaids?
Bridesmaids. Yeah, I worked in Bridesmaids. People are crying all the time.
Why?
They cried all the time.
Oh, I
Because
had
they
a
didn't
bride.
like the way they looked?
Oh, I mean, that was the maids. I had a bride break down on me one time, and I was like 19, 20 years old. She broke down on me because we had the swatch books for each designer,
Yeah.
right?
Oh,
You go through.
God.
And she was looking for this specific color of green, and none of the designers had it. And she melted down on me because
I
there
hate
was
that
not,
though.
But
I hate
to-
the pressure that we put on them.
We do, and here's what I didn't realize at that time that I found with age was she wasn't probably actually crying about that specific green.
yes.
It was
That's the one
It was
thing.
the straw that broke the camel's
Yeah.
back, right?
So I always say brides fixate on one thing. Every bride has one thing during their wedding that they will fixate on. Sometimes it's the gown, sometimes it's the flowers, sometimes it's their rings, but there's always one thing that they hyperfixate on. And yeah, if that's the one thing that breaks them, they'll be done.
I think it's kind of like when they stay with relationships, like you and your partner. If you're fighting over the dishes, but
Yeah.
it's not actually about the dishes, it's
Yeah.
about this other thing that happened a week
But
ago.
I do feel bad that we put all this pressure on brides to make it perfect. And I don't think perfection is actually as pretty as, I just had this realization. I don't think that perfection is actually as pretty as everybody thinks, because something that's too perfect starts to become cookie cutter. So
Yeah.
you're seeing it over and over and over again.
Correct.
Like,
what she's saying is right on the mark.
give me something that's a little off And it's okay. I actually think if something's off and it's made by hand, that makes it more special.
Do you think it's a combination of, one, you've dreamt about this your whole life, two, you're seeing all the different magazines and internet, social media, and three, you have everyone in your ear when you're trying to make it your own day, but then you have your mom and you have, family members, friends in your ear.
So I want to know though, so was there this much pressure on brides when you got married?
Good question.
No.
I didn't think so.
I went with my mother.
Right.
I went to Higbee's, found the dress. My mother bought it. It was $175.
Yeah, you loved it.
Left, went home, and that
Right.
was the end of it. But see, you're going back so many years. There was no internet. There was no
I know.
cell
You had
phone.
you had Brides magazine, maybe
Yeah,
one other, but
well,
only just
see,
Brides.
What we're missing today, what the brides are missing, is the magazines.
I miss the magazine.
Because
Same.
everything
I used to tear out Priscilla.
online.
I used to tear out Priscilla
I just
photos
actually
like that in Brides.
signed up for a magazine subscription. They were like, do you just want the online version or do you want the in print? And I was like, in print, please.
Yeah, but
who
it'll
is
be
this?
this
Oh,
thick.
it was just the Atlantic.
Oh,
But it'll be this thick.
I don't care. Oh, with
Yeah.
ads?
Well, there's hardly
that's why I
anything
love
in it.
September issues. They used to be so thick. I would pour over it for.
Well, yeah, that's how we educated ourselves
Yeah.
too before we went to market. We'd look at what was the trend. And the biggest mistake is how many people the bride brings to try and dress us up.
Yeah.
They should all stay home.
You mentioned before about trends moving faster than
Yes.
normal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think, because before we had the magazines,
Right.
consumers aren't going to market. We had magazines,
Right.
so that was like, oh, this is going to be trending or this is trending.
Right.
But now with the internet, I mean, print's already old
Oh,
by
yeah.
the time you get it. And trends can change consistently on social media and that. So do you
Yes.
think that's fucking with the rhythm of
Yes.
trending?
Well, it has to. I mean,
Yeah.
think about it. Like, a designer is not going to be able to make something and turn it around and make a good product in the amount of time that these trends are then over.
Yeah.
That's
they're
correct.
so quick.
No, well, everything is instantaneous, just like the phone. They think that's the way it goes today, instantaneous.
I know.
And that's a problem because as a salon owner, you can vary your trends, but how far do you go
Yeah.
Right.
to be correct or incorrect? In our case, we had certain trends in the high-end department, and then the main floor was, usually like from $699 to $2,000. Okay, that's how it worked. And then we went into maids, and maids, as time went on, got a little bit expensive. This is where your online vendors became very popular.
Yep.
Because for $99, they can send you a dress.
Right.
So the bridesmaid business is not what it used to be.
Well, I think it's part of the reason why people are foregoing bridal parties altogether. It's expensive to be in a bridal
I actually
party.
bring it up to my brides because I chat with them when we're in when they're
Yeah.
trying on dresses and things, and I always ask them like, "Are you having a bridal party?" And they're like, "I'm not." And I'm like, "I think that's okay.
Yeah.
Like we don't have to have bridal parties. You can still have these people come up and get ready with you, have
Yes.
champagne with you,
No, you're
hang
correct.
out with you.
There's
It doesn't
different ways.
mean-
That's we have to remember too, that's an old tradition that really started in the early 1900s.
Right.
If you look at old, like my grandmother, 1920, well, I mean, there was 10 bridesmaids. And they all had big bouquets that were this big with air fern. You couldn't even see the dress because there was so
I know.
many flowers.
I do love the trend of small bouquets these days.
I
but
do too.
yeah, go on.
Thank you.
I'm
Go
all
on.
for it.
That's my
Give me Lily of
complaint.
the Valley any day.
That's
Her biggest complaint, her biggest peeve.
is a large bouquet
I
up
get it.
here.
Oh yeah,
Up here,
down by
walking
your
the
belly.
aisle.
See the dress.
I know.
What
down by
are
your
you
belly.
doing?
I
If you
know.
want to like poke at Patrice, be like, do you want to see this bride that put her bouquet in walking down the aisle?
She's like,
she
"No, I
will
do not."
pop her top. Like, don't do
No,
it.
you wear it to the side.
But I think the function of bridesmaids has changed over the years as well. Like I think back in your grandma's day, probably back in your day, you tell me if I'm wrong, I feel like the bridesmaid probably did a lot for the bride. Like you knew that you were gonna throw the bride of shower, you knew that you were going to.
That's correct.
You were going to do all these things.
That's absolutely correct. It doesn't go that way anymore.
I think now bridesmaids are more like hype people.
That's what Leah Weinberg said on our show.
And I think that's totally fine.
Yeah, it's
but
totally
like
pivoted.
we don't need to have all these people around just to stand around and like get you excited, which kind of falls into like my bridal concierge. Like I think that's why people really like having me around, because I'm doing all those little things that
You're the mother or
bridesmaids-
sister.
Yeah, that
what
used
bridesmaids
to do
used
all
to do.
these things.
Yep.
Correct.
But they're not
So
Nailed
you
it.
do that
Nailed
when,
it.
when they go to the church, you go with them.
Yes, I will. I go with her. I pick up her dress the day before. I steam press the bridesmaid's dress, her dress, and then I stay with her all day to make sure that she's like, she's good.
We did that because we went from bridal, we went into the event business.
Yes.
So that coupled together. Now, that was an experience too, to interject, because I didn't need the bridesmaids to tell me how we were going to go about this.
Yeah, no,
It's
not at
like,
all.
Get out of my way.
Yeah, it's almost. I almost direct the bridesmaids now, which because again, you don't know what you don't know. If you've
That's
never
what
been
I
in
did.
your
I'd
wedding.
say, and don't ask her anything.
I think that when bridesmaids start to be like, well, do you like your hair that way? No. We do not ask brides. Like, there is a way to ask and a way to.
I'm so glad you're saying this.
It's like, get out of their way.
You're just going to stress her out more.
And I wasn't nice about it.
Well,
I mean, I was polite, but no, I wasn't nice.
Oh my
It was
God.
enough already.
So much I want to say right now.
You had to be stern.
Well, with that, what is your take on when planning the wedding, the bride or the couple telling their family members, their friends, their bridal party, all the details that they're planning with the wedding?
I personally, I tell my brides this all the time because I think there was a trend, you probably saw it, where you would come to an appointment, you would try on all these dresses, you would FaceTime with people, you would send pictures to
we
people.
know all about
and
that.
then
Yes.
everybody knew what your dress looked like. And I was
said,
like,
what are you doing?
why? I, as a guest, love when the door is open. I know nothing about what the bride's gonna wear, and I love to be in the moment to see. I don't want to give away all the secrets of the wedding, because as a guest, it's just like exciting to not know anything.
And that includes your
Exactly.
family members and friends.
Yeah, I feel like you can, even as a bridesmaid, I think it's really, they have the pictures of the bridesmaids turning around and being, surprised about what the bride is wearing. Let's make it genuine. Let's really not show you our dress. And so you really are surprised when you see the dress for the first time on my wedding day.
Yep.
But that's the object.
I know.
Yeah.
And I see.
And that includes to me the centerpieces, like all the
Yes.
guests should know, all the family members
you're
and
getting
friends should
married.
know. Yeah, like what's the location,
Yep.
the time,
Yep.
and
That's
what's
it.
your
They're
dress
done.
code.
I don't want to know anything.
You know.
I want to be excited
And
and
I think the
surprised.
second you open your mouth and start telling people your stuff,
People will have
you lose
opinions.
surprise, and they all have opinions.
It's like you don't tell anybody the names that you want to give your baby because they'll be like, ooh.
or then they
Yeah.
take it.
Tell your baby
'Cause they
the
get pregnant
name.
before you, and they take it.
Yeah.
And it ruins it for you.
But that's absolutely correct. I mean, there's just way too much information. Everybody wants to know what the design is for the wedding.
And this is
my
the
son's, and I
only
said,
time.
I'm not telling anybody, okay?
Yeah.
Nobody saw anything, including the bride.
And this is the
I
only
said-
time that you get to plan something as a couple this big.
Yeah.
And you're probably the ones paying for it. I guess if
Yeah.
the parents are paying for it or have involvement, maybe
Oh, well, they can be involved.
like my last go around, I kept mum. No one's knowing shit unless they
Yeah.
absolutely have to.
Yeah.
My maid of honor, she had some hand with like bridesmaids, but it was all on me. Like my color choice, whatever. And she's amazing and would never, say anything otherwise. But like with the cake, for example, knew exactly what I wanted with the cake. He and I made that agreement. And then invited the moms to join us for the cake tasting, even though we knew what we were doing for flavors.
Ooh.
But that way they felt included.
Oh, okay.
And they knew not to run their mouth to the family.
okay, yes.
Like, okay, I'll let you feel included and part of this
So a lot
as
of
the
times
moms.
when
but
brides come in and they're just with their mom and they want to pick out their dress and they're like, I'm picking it out with just my mom. And I was like, I love that. I love that it's a moment for you. But then they were like, I feel bad that I'm not including my mother-in-law or whatnot. And I was like, okay, bring them in when your dress arrives and we can have a celebration so that they can't say anything about your dress. This is the dress you're getting married in. But like, come celebrate. You can see it for the first time if that's what you want to do.
okay, yeah. So what is appropriate of who to invite for your dress search?
Nobody but your mother.
Yeah.
I mean,
What if you have kids?
keep it minimum.
What if you already have kids together from a previous relationship?
I don't think that there's a hard, I know Patrice is like, your mom, that's it. I don't think that there's a hard and fast rule. I feel like I
there's
don't
not.
know what your dynamics are, so I don't know. I always tell my brides, picture yourself standing in a dress. Who do you feel comfortable having around you that you can tell them honestly, like, I don't like this dress, I don't want to wear it? Because that might be your grandma, that might be your aunt, that might be your sister. Like, I don't know who it's going to be, but I don't think any more than 4 people.
And why I bring up the kid thing is what sticks in my mind a lot is there's this episode of Say Yes to the Dress from like early seasons, like years ago.
Oh, God.
Where the couple was doing a vow renewal. It's like their 20th or something like that, but they had their 2 or 3 little boys with them.
Okay.
I think 2 little boys. And she had these 2 dresses she was narrowed down to, and she really loved the one dress, and you can tell.
Yeah.
But the boys loved the other one. And she ended up going with the other one because the boys liked it. But you can tell she wasn't as like, lit up and excited about it as, you know. So
one of the only times that I had a bride switch her dress choice on me, it was she did not have a mom, so she brought her 2 sister-in-laws, or future sister-in-laws with her. Future sister-in-laws loved this one dress. She loved the other dress, went with the other dress, came for her gown pickup, and she goes, I made the wrong gown choice. Can I have the other dress now? And I was like, I'm glad you got to this point. And yes, we can order the other dress for you now.
yeah.
It just depends. You know, it's a very hard thing, but when I was in it, even up to when I retired, we had up to 10 people coming to watch a girl
That
with
is
a
a
dress.
lot.
And then they'd come with the paper signs that were held up by a popsicle.
Oh, well, because, you know.
Say yes to the dress.
Yeah.
And then they would bring their picnic basket
What?
with wine and
Oh, how did you handle that?
Yeah, 'cause they didn't ask you ahead of time, I presume.
no, and I put a stop to it.
I mean,
I go, okay, this is over.
we're not a restaurant.
No, and I'm like, what in the God's name is going on? And then you would bring the girl out and you'd have her in a gown, and here we're the professionals, and we know the ins and outs of everything. And they would look at me and they'd say, why did you put that dress on her? That doesn't look right at all. And I go, really? What's the matter with it? Well, the girl didn't even have a chance to say whether she
Right.
liked it or not.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to educate the crowd that this is something she looked at, and this enhances her shape.
Sure.
I said, we need to put things on that enhance her. And if she likes a certain style, then we're going to put it on her so she can distinguish that
What does
maybe
she
it's
like?
not for her.
Right.
But they'd have their paddles like this.
Oh.
Well,
Which just confuses you.
you know,
Well, it does.
I'm
Think about-
like, put your paddles down. And then they'd start fighting among themselves.
Oh, boy.
Why did you put your pad? And I'm like,
Oh, boy.
you know, whoa.
Yeah.
You know, and, you know, the girl ends up leaving crying.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
The
Or
experience is
best one
ruined.
was when a girl decided on a gown and the mother didn't like it.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Mm-hmm. And the mother goes up to her and says, you like this gown? I don't like it. Promise to God this happened. And she said, well, you can get it, but I'm not buying it.
Oh, yes. I've had many of those.
Have
The
you?
girl breaks out in hysterical tears. And it's like, what are you doing?
Well, that mom's just a bitch. Like, let's just be real. I'll call you a bitch. You're a bitch for doing that.
You know,
Like,
when
that's
I
rude.
went with my future daughter-in-law, my granddaughters went with us, and my daughter-in-laws, nobody said a word because they knew better.
Well, you don't want
I
to kill
do
the
think
joy. Why would you
They
be
were
a
trained
joy kill?
not to say anything.
Now, I will say on
They were trained not to say
But
anything.
on the
Yeah.
other end of the
Said,
spectrum,
"Shut
when
up."
you don't say anything, I actually have had brides, entourages not say anything. And the bride's like, I don't know, when we're talking in the dressing room, like, I don't know why they're not saying anything. I'm like, I think that they're probably nervous because they don't want to upset you. So let's go out there and tell them you brought them because you want their opinion.
Correct.
So,
right.
So I think you have to find a middle ground, right?
Yeah.
I agree with you, but there's no middle ground there because then they start saying things that might not even be relevant to what she's looking at. Follow me? You know, this, that, the design, the color, what needs to be added or subtracted. You know,
I think at that point, it's no longer about the gown appointment.
No.
There's something else going on.
Yes.
Well,
yes.
Well,
Yep.
sure
Nailed
there
it.
is. There's something else. They want to control what she
Yes.
wears.
There's maybe a jealous bridesmaid who's kind of salty she's not getting
Absolutely.
Something
married,
else
or
is going on.
Yep,
Absolutely.
that's the dress she would
But
want to wear, so
everything
she
you're
doesn't want you to
saying
have
is
it.
correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
You
Oh,
should go
great
out
point.
and start training people. You're very educated. And the reason being is you're in the higher end designs that really educates you from the beginning.
Well, I think you also just have to be able to read a room, right? Like you have to be able to read people
Oh, well, you
and
can always read a
understand
room,
what
yes.
what they're feeling and where everybody's
you
at.
can tell right away. And you
Yeah.
can tell if there's a domineering
Yeah.
mother
Oh, yeah.
or friend, or if there's a kind, the mother will go, well, do you like it, honey? If you like it, I like it. Well, to me, that's the answer.
Yeah.
You like it, I like it. I mean, I'm not wearing it. But again, this is where we go back to training the consultants, like you say, to be able to handle and read a situation and squash it before it goes too far. If you're not educated, you cannot handle situations like that.
It
Yeah,
is
you have to get ahead of
psychology.
it. Yeah, it is.
You
have to get
have
ahead
to
of
be
it.
way ahead.
And then you also have to know when to interject something so that you can bring the mood into a different place. Like
Correct.
there's just, and I get it. Like there's a lot of emotions that are wrapped up into weddings these days, right? Like
Yeah.
I think moms are sad that their daughters are probably, ending this certain stage of their life and going into another stage. And, maybe there's a bridesmaid that's sad that they're not at the same stage. And there's just
Correct.
a lot.
That's absolutely correct.
How often has a bride come in wanting a certain type of dress but walked out with the opposite?
A lot.
Yeah. Well, I go back to you don't know what you don't know. I tell my brides all the time that you don't know what you're going to like. It's not like when you walk into J. Crew and you're like, I know those V-neck sweaters from J. Crew look good on me, so I know exactly what dress is going to look good on
Correct.
me. You've never tried on a wedding dress. How are you going to
They're
know
so
what
different.
excites you?
And 90% of the time, they go with the opposite. Because, like she said, they don't know what they look like in it till they get in
Right.
it. And they might have a vision, and you let them do the vision
And then
so they understand the vision isn't correct.
right, yes.
I'm fascinated still with the bitchy moms that want to kill their daughter's joy. What's usually the issue you think when it comes to choosing the dress? Is it a control thing overall, or do they just really want a certain type of dress over what the bride actually wants?
I think the moms have a vision of what the wedding should be like and what the bride should be wearing in their vision.
I also think it's a vision of controlling.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah.
A lot of mothers want to control everything that the girl does. And why are you choosing this? Put this on. Wait till you see this on you. It's funny in life, but I say it to my granddaughters. I have adult granddaughters. I say, a lot of times you have to make your own decisions
Yes.
to be able to grow. You can't always be
Rely.
giving suggestions to them. Like I say to my granddaughters, when you get married, the only thing I ask is I want a veil on your head. Other than that, I don't care what you do. Okay, Grandma, there you go again. I said, well, it's a form of tradition. I don't care if it's long or short. I just want to see you walk down the aisle with your father and a veil on. Other than that, I will get you whatever you want. But the problem is the mothers or whoever, grandmothers, they make it about them.
Yeah.
It's not about them. It's about the girl. What do you want? What do you like?
How do you set that boundary, especially if you're more of like a people-pleasing type of personality?
Well, you find it hard, but you have to shut them down. You have to go, this is not what I like. But that's difficult for a lot of girls.
Yes.
Because a lot of mothers are very forceful,
Yes.
saying, well, why wouldn't you like this?
But I also think I agree with what you're saying, but I will say that sometimes moms will make suggestions and they work out really well.
Well, it depends on the personality
Yes.
and the closeness
Yes.
they have with their mother, and they really honor what she's
Yes.
saying.
Come from a loving place, not a demanding place. I think that's probably the key
It
to
makes
it.
a difference.
It does. Now that we've set our boundaries and chosen who's going to come to our appointment,
Yeah.
what are your
Nobody.
top tips?
I shopped by myself.
I mean,
I'd
at least the
rather.
first go around just to kind of narrow down your head.
I
Wouldn't be
just
the
feel like,
worst thing.
I mean, do you always go shopping with people?
Right.
I don't.
I try not to.
Right.
Yeah.
Like I go by myself,
It's
and then
a disaster.
if I need help because I'm deciding between something, I'm like, oh, well, what do you think of this one? Then I'll bring in other people. But otherwise,
You have permission.
Yeah.
To not. But what should they bring with them to the appointment, whether they're coming solo or with an entourage? What's the top things that they should consider? Is it still the old hard and fast rule of make sure you're wearing a nude bra and underwear and bring heels and or is it kind of doesn't matter anymore?
No, I mean, honestly, you should be wearing nude underwear because why are you trying on dresses with hot pink underwear? Like, that just doesn't make sense.
Right.
Nude underwear, yes, but 99% of my brides are not wearing bras. They'll put cups in during alterations,
Yep,
but they're not wearing
correct.
bras, so you don't need a bra. And then shoes, I would say most of my brides like to just wear socks until you get down to the dresses that you really like, and then we'll put on some pretty shoes. But like, I have shoes. I don't know.
I find it very difficult to go in an environment and they have no idea what I'm saying.
Well, because you know it.
And I'm like, sometimes they wonder why business is slow. Well, it's also how you approach a client and really be very positive in what you're saying because
Yeah.
you do know it. You give a comfort zone to that client that they're going to stay with you
Right.
because they believe in what you're saying.
Right.
But you have to know it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
And you
not
have to follow
hard.
through.
You have to go over it and over it and over it. And I still say you have to have art in you.
Yeah.
You have to have an artistic background. And you could be a hairdresser, you could be all sorts of things. And you have a graphic designer.
Yeah.
I had a graphic designer one time. She was brilliant
Yeah,
selling
I would
gowns.
think.
Brilliant. Well, because she had art in her. So
Right.
people say to me, okay, you're designing this wedding. What does it look like? I said, I see it in my head.
I know,
can tell
right?
you
Don't you just see it in your
and
head?
People don't understand
I
what I'm
know.
saying. I said, I can see where everything's
know.
being placed.
How do we do that? I don't know where it comes from. It
It's
just
a
like pops in.
gift. It's a gift.
It's art.
It's a
yeah,
gift
like
from
any other
God.
artist.
It's
Yeah.
an art. I mean, I can tell you exactly where I'm placing everything.
Yeah.
I can tell you exactly what she's going to look like and what she's going to wear.
So that's actually how I choose my dresses too. So when I'm looking at dresses with my designers and I am seeing all the different designs, the designs will pop out to me and I'll be like, ooh, like the one I actually just posted, I actually put in the caption,
love
I was
it.
like, I envision this dress with a long, simple veil with green grass in the background for a venue with bridesmaids in floral dresses that
There
are
you
all
go.
very different. Like you can just imagine where a dress is going to be. And then I imagine if that's my bride. Like, is that my bride? Is that my client? Like, is
But
that
you
my type
see,
of
you're
bride?
a true artist.
I think it's not as easy as people think. It's not as
easy as
easy
people
as
think.
you just go and pick out 5
Oh,
dresses
this is a
from
pretty
a
dress.
designer.
No.
It's not.
I
Like,
used to do the same thing when I was in it. I'd go to market and I would be like, okay, now where are we going here? And
Right.
anything that was a true fad, I only bought a little bit.
I know.
Because I know the fad's going to go before it starts.
Yes.
Your plain dresses are always going to be in because there's the girl that wants that plain look with
Yeah.
with the bread and butter shelving is what I call it
Yeah.
at the collar. And it's pretty on the right person.
Yes.
And there's ball gowns, there's high necklines, which came
Yes.
back
Give
from
me
Grace
all of them.
Kelly.
Yes.
Give me every
Yes.
one of them.
Give me high neck, long sleeves.
Love
Love them.
Paris
Love them.
Hilton.
You have to say you have a few.
Paris Hilton had the high
Yeah.
lace with the organza.
So did
As
Nikki
Nikki did
Hilton.
too. Yeah.
Nikki Hilton had it, and of course it came from Grace Kelly.
I know.
Yeah.
And she was the icon of fashion. Her, Audrey Hepburn, and then you go down the line, and then
This is why I hate trendy dresses. I shouldn't say hate. I just feel like trendy dresses just they're not for
that's
me.
exactly what
Well,
they
there's
are.
some, I think, trendy that are like in pop culture that stand out to me, like Bianca Jagger's suit and Yoko Ono with the mini dress. Like
Yeah, I
those
guess
moments
I
in
don't think of
time.
those as trendy because a suit is always going to be in style.
But
Yeah.
they didn't always carry on. To me, it was like very 70s, very 60s, depending
Yeah.
on the thing. But they didn't like the Grace Kelly continues. Like it just has different
Well,
forms.
that-
Like
I know.
Kate Middleton, right?
I know.
Like it just reformed because
Oh,
there's classic and there's trend, right?
Yeah.
Like, and what do you want to look in the end?
Kate Middleton.
Timeless or
Right.
you came out of the 1980s with your puffy dress?
I mean, I
Although
feel
long
like
live
timeless
Diana.
is mine. Timeless is what I
Well,
go
see,
with.
I like the timeless, and this to me, it's a matter of if you go back through the years and you see what was designed even back in 1920 forward, we've already come around full circle several times, and the design that I don't like. But I personally don't like it, is the see-through dress.
Me neither. I call them
do
naked
not
dresses.
like 'em.
Yeah, the naked dresses. Do you think they're done?
I don't like
I
'em.
do think that they're going out.
Well, they
Yeah.
will go out.
Yeah.
It's just a flash in the
Do you think
pan.
people will then associate that with like the certain time in the 2000s?
Probably.
You know?
I just
But
I just
I just never understand why on your wedding day, when you haven't seen all of these people for how many years, why
Right.
is it that you want to show them everything on that day? Do you normally
Grandma
dress
does
like
not
that?
want to see that.
But I mean, I guess if you normally dress like that, then there's a place for it. But I don't normally dress like that. And I think I stock my store with dresses that I would be excited to wear. Like
Yeah.
that's kind
but
of,
I agree with you. I think we all do this as artists.
Yeah.
We stock our gowns. You might go a little bit to the left occasionally just to have it. But some of this stuff I never went to the left on.
Yeah.
I just didn't even touch it. It wasn't my.
yeah.
It just wasn't.
Yeah, it doesn't excite
I
you.
couldn't sell
Yeah.
it.
I have to be excited about it, right? Like
Right.
I want to be super excited about it because if I'm excited about it, I know that I'm going to be able to tell other people.
Doesn't say, because as a consultant, you're going to be like, you're going to show that enthusiasm.
Yeah.
Because it's a dress you don't like and
Yeah.
you're putting on a bride, it's going
Yeah.
to show.
Yeah,
And then
for real. Yeah.
no one wants that.
It's funny, but if you really look back, some of those designs have been affluent through all the years.
Yes. Do you know so many people, I'm sure you hear this too, come in and they're like, oh, I don't want strapless. Like strapless is so trendy. I don't want
Yeah.
strapless. I was like, strapless is not trendy.
No.
Strapless has been around since like the
And the time,
1940s.
right.
Yeah.
Like people
And
have
you
been wearing
might like
strapless
it.
forever. Yeah. I mean, a lot of people do because it shows off your.
I think people misconstrued in bridal what a trend actually is, because like it might be hotter at that moment to wear a strapless versus a high neck, for example, right? But both are timeless
Yeah.
when done right.
Yeah.
Well,
But just
like-
because more people
Yes.
are wearing it this time, that's not the trend. The
Yeah.
trend is more.
I would agree with that.
What's the fabric? What's the beading? Like, that's more the trend,
Well, right.
not the cuts.
Right.
The cut. Your ball gowns never go out. And
Right.
there was a time where there was a space where the girls didn't want a ball gown.
What's the 90s chic, which is my favorite era. I love 90s sheath
Yeah.
dresses and
Yeah.
slinkiness and the Vera's and Calvin Klein's.
Vera Wang was a riot.
And Narcissa Rodriguez.
Did you just see her?
Oh, I knew Vera.
Yeah.
I knew Oscar de la Renta.
Vera
Oscar de la
had
Renta.
an ivory bridesmaid's dress when I worked there, and I was like, one day when I get married, I'm gonna wear this Vera bridesmaid's dress in ivory on a beach. That's gonna be
Yes,
my
I
wedding.
remember that.
And
Yeah.
she was like, you're wearing a veil.
You're wearing a veil.
You got to know all of them at market.
All right, so I literally can talk to the both of you all day
I know, I could ask
long,
you
and,
stories
like,
all
there's
day
so
long.
many things. So we'll have to do this again, but unfortunately we have to wrap up for now. So of course I want to end it with some hot takes. I know we're gonna have some really good ones here. So it's the fuck it bucket, all right? So I'm gonna yell out, not yell, but like I'm gonna say a wedding related thing, and you're
Okay.
gonna say, yay, love that, or toss that in the fuck it bucket. You don't need it, I don't want it. Okay? You can give more context too if you want. But
Let's
first
hear 'em.
one, brides wearing gloves, chic or just too trendy, or just fuck it, chuck it in the fuck it bucket.
Chuck it.
I don't know. I can get on board with some.
Depends.
Yeah, depends.
Corsages for mom.
Yes.
Where am I putting it?
Yes. Good question. Where are we putting it?
So lapel versus wrist.
No.
I will put it on the wrist.
No. Wrist corsage.
Yeah.
Black wedding dresses.
No.
No. Sarah Jessica Parker. She regrets hers.
It's such a
does.
pretty girl and wearing a black dress. Oh, I've had purple and blue and all of them. Go ahead, just throw it out.
Sneakers with gowns.
No.
No.
Bridal belts.
Yes. Depending.
Non-rhinestone, I agree with.
You're a ribbon girl.
Yeah, I will do like a silk satin around your waist, but I don't want bling.
Patrice makes bling belts.
I know.
I do bling.
I
I
know.
did a lot of bling belts, but that would be
But that
on a
was your-
totally plain gown.
Yes, but that was also the trend back then when you were there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We used to put them in their hair, too.
Yeah, so did I.
It worked in the hair.
And then we made them into necklaces too.
Oh.
Yeah.
And then they would have a big
So in
belt on the
other
back.
words, you could make it flowing out of the bucket. Could you do that?
You can do whatever you want. It's your fucking bucket.
Yeah, okay, go ahead.
More than one dress.
No.
No,
No, find a dress that you love and wear it forever. Like wear it the entire day.
that's a big mistake.
Agreed.
Do you think you should have a ceremony and reception dress?
No.
No.
Because some people kind of walk that fine line. Like they don't want two or more, but like ceremony and then reception,
They
or do
should-
the change of dress, like where you have the bigger ball skirt overlay and then you take it off and it's sleek.
So this is what I say. The only time that I was on board with this trend is I recently had a bride. She wore a beautiful ball gown, Oscar de la Renta dress for her ceremony, and then switched into another wedding dress from Ramona Caveja. So it still was a wedding dress. It was just a different wedding dress. I am not a big fan of like these short little dresses that you can buy at J. Crew. No.
Absolutely not. I agree.
Sweating for the wedding.
Like working out to be a certain size.
No, that's a double no. Because once we alter that dress, no. Absolutely not.
Guest books.
No.
I don't even know the last time I heard a guest book.
Me neither. That's been out for years. I think
And
it
they can
got
stay
thrown
out.
out.
You know what I
They're
kind
in
of-
my fucking
You know what I
bucket.
think about when I think of guest books? I think of funerals. You know how like you
Yes.
write your name in a guest book?
Well,
when you go
sometimes
to
it feels like a funeral when you get through.
So let's not do that. No.
No, we're not doing that.
This is back to trending right now in bridal. Scarves.
Scarves.
Scarves are back, like the sheer scarves.
I just bought one. I just bought a sample of one. I know. I'll get on board with sometimes.
Depends.
There were Hollywood stars that wore scarves.
Yeah.
So,
I think of Julia Roberts with Lyle Lovett.
Yeah.
Barefoot with the scarf.
so
The trend right now, it's not in the Midwest yet, but it's very like Northeast and Cali, but like the huge boutonnieres on the groomsmen.
I do not like
Like
that.
the lapel ones
I do
and
not
stuff.
like-
I don't either. They're my fucking bucket. but-
Absolutely not.
I think if the guy is really eclectic or like eclectic
Agreed.
vibe,
I would agree.
you
Agreed.
can rock it.
Agreed.
But for the average
I've
person,
seen
I
two
don't think it
grooms
works.
rock them, and I actually thought it looked really cool. But for the average person, I don't
It
think.
just depends on the personality.
Yeah.
Yeah. Holiday weddings. Weddings on like New Year's, Valentine's, etc.
Sorry, Patrice.
I agree.
Patrice, were you married on Valentine's Day?
No. My,
It's like no
my-
on Christmas.
No,
I know you
nobody
weren't.
was. My niece was married on the 29th of December. That was
that's different.
beautiful.
Yeah.
And my nephew was married on New Year's Eve.
Oh, I actually think
That
New
was-
Year's Eve weddings are fun.
That was fun.
Do you think they're the only kind of exception?
I do, because I think
Yeah.
that everybody thinks that they're going to have fun on New Year's when they go out, and they never do. But if you have a wedding to attend, that's like a whole nother level.
Yeah, we had the streaming
Yeah.
of New York at the last 2 minutes in the ballroom.
I think that's
Oh, cute.
awesome. That's
it
so
was
fun.
a ride.
Yeah.
It was good.
I think that would be super fun.
This is a non-cultural thing, but multi-day weddings. If it's cultural, I mean, that's one exception.
Okay, yeah,
but
I was
like
going to say, if it's like an Indian wedding, okay,
Yeah,
I feel like
yeah.
you can't get away from that. But otherwise, no.
It's
No.
trending.
No,
I think we're getting too big.
no, absolutely
Bring it down.
not. Bring it down a notch.
Yeah.
Old school, garter and bouquet tosses.
No.
Garters have always weirded me out.
I never cared for them. We had them for years, but they're gone.
Don't you feel awkward? Like letting
And
it
we
climb up
don't
your
need
dress?
a tossing a bouquet.
No.
And it's kind of like with the naked dresses, right? Like no one wants to see someone going
No.
up the dress or skirt. Like it's gross.
That's awkward.
so weird.
Everybody's cringing.
It's so weird. Matching bridesmaids dresses.
So I think the last time you and I met, I was like, no, matching my bridesmaids dresses are totally out. But I think that you can do them. If you do them well, I am okay with it. They need to be like quality dresses. I am not a fan of like cheap bridesmaids dresses.
Correct. Tell you what I don't like is when they tell the bridesmaids they can wear any shoe they want. They don't have to be the same. And one has a black one and one has a white one.
Oh,
absolutely not.
especially if you're seeing them.
We've got to be uniform. And as far as changing bridesmaid dresses, which creates a totally different
Look.
look, you got to be careful how you mix and match.
Yes, it's not as easy as you think it's going to be.
It's not as easy.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes people think like, oh, I'm just trying to, not be a Zilla or
Right.
whatever. They're not thinking about the picture.
No, they're not.
Because you're going to look at those photos forever.
Right.
And
Yeah,
if
but
it
I
looks
also
off,
go back to how often are you really looking at those photos
Not
with
at all.
you and your bridesmaids?
I think mine turned yellow.
Yeah. Well, no. I think you look at the photos with you and your husband. Like, I don't
Yeah.
think you're really looking at the photos with you and your bridesmaids.
Yeah, that's true.
Just my 2 cents.
No, that's a good point.
We like your 2 cents.
We appreciate it. That's why we're asking it. Speeches.
I think a
Bucket
good
bucket?
speech is amazing. I think you get into the areas of, is that a good speech? Or are
Exactly.
So I can go both ways.
So not quite in your bucket, but kind of,
Well,
depending.
it should be pouring out of it at one edge.
Well, do you
Who's
think it should just
delivering
be
it?
the parents and like the couple, or do you like not have the maid of honor and the groomsmen and all that, or do you think?
I think you choose the person who's going to deliver the best speech and then let them do it. Like, I
Correct.
don't think you need to have 5 different speeches.
No,
like
she's
that.
right again.
I like you, Patrice.
Take her out of the bucket. If she's tending toward it, get her out. Because she's good.
I would never put Rebecca in the bucket.
No,
Thank you. I cannot.
she's not going in, and neither am I.
Nobody is.
We've already been in it for years.
Okay, this is a big one for the bucket with people. Cake smashing.
No.
Oh, if you are smashing a cake, I don't think that your marriage is going to last
No,
long.
I think it's very
Disrespectful.
unhealthy.
Yeah, it's
Very.
disrespectful.
It's so
Very
funny.
unhealthy.
Lauren from Vendor Table, when I brought this up, she's like, grounds for divorce.
Yes!
Annulled. Never
Oh,
happened.
Well, the
Wow.
bottom line is, what if it falls on a beautiful gown
And the
like
makeup
this?
you just spent all that
and
money on.
This is stupid.
Your hair.
This is like 2 kids playing.
Yeah,
Absolutely not.
it's very cringy.
That's
no.
not sophisticated.
No, not at all.
The couple exchanging gifts the morning of the wedding. Do you
No.
think they need to be doing gifts?
No.
I don't. I think it's just another stressor that you're putting on yourself.
And expense.
First of all, the groom shouldn't see the bride until she
Well, no,
walks
you know how
down.
sometimes
Yeah.
a person like will bring
They
it
will
to
bring it to
you when
you.
you're getting
Oh,
ready.
I got it. No, nobody brought anything to me, but that was 55 years
I know
ago.
I didn't get anything either, but I do think you get into this gray area of if he gives or if you're getting a gift on your wedding day, are you supposed to wear it? And like, what if I don't like it?
Oh yeah, because usually
Like-
it's jewelry or a watch
Right.
or cufflinks or
Yes.
something.
Yeah.
So I think, how about we push that to like anniversary or
Yeah.
Yeah.
First year.
Cosign.
I agree.
Cosign.
I agree.
So you can
She's
pick it out
right
together.
again. Okay, ding. Okay, next.
All right, last one is kids at receptions.
I don't have a problem with that as
Yeah.
long as they're taken care of.
I think that is the key, as long as they're taken care of, so
as
that
long as they're yes.
and there is somebody who's going to take them home when they are tired, because they will inadvertently get like they're going to eventually get tired and want to go to bed, and if they don't, they're going to be mad.
They'll be smashing cake.
Yeah. But I think they can be so cute.
They can be. I think the ceremony is the only time it's a risk of them stealing the spotlight, and not always in the cute way. Like if they're screaming, depending how young they are, that's the only risky moment.
yeah. When you bring a real young baby, that's I've seen them in church during a wedding or a
Yeah.
funeral, and then the screaming goes on. See, I personally would walk out with the baby
Yeah, oh, for sure.
Yeah.
because to me it derails what's going on. I mean, there's a time and a place. It depends what their ages are.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's a question too.
But on that note, there's actually like new services that, I guess they're not new, but services that will come to your wedding as nanny services. And like they'll have a separate area for the kids to go to where they can have games and
One last bucket. Is there one thing you would chuck in the bucket that is something that you see at receptions in general, whether it be decor or a trendy item or a thing that people do? What would be your
favors. I am not a fan of favors unless it is an edible favor that I will eat on the way home.
I agree with you. They should be edible.
Yes.
And they should be easy to get into.
Yes.
Okay. And they should be in a container that's decorative. So when they're sitting at the place, they look good. The certain ones I have for this are 7 almonds because it's an Italian.
I love that.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
you know what? I wouldn't put them on the table. I think you should put them on the way out so guests have like a little surprise on the way out.
Well, they could.
Yeah.
You could have a surprise and they leave them all there too. Then
Well,
what do you do?
I feel like a lot
Could
of
go
people
either
leave
way.
them on their table.
Oh, well, that's
Because they're
fine.
dancing and
Right.
they're drunk, and then
So
they
then
stumble out.
put them towards the doors as they're leaving.
Well,
so
then
that they
I could
grab it and go.
always collect and bring them down here. You could hand them out to the brides.
Maybe you could.
This is
I
your
mean, she
prize
is also
for walking.
Italian, so it's some good luck to the brides as well.
And that and the big cookie tables are big.
Oh, I
in our
love cookie
culture.
tables. I
Yeah.
love
I love
cookie
cookie
tables.
tables.
They're
I love
big in our
bakery
culture.
tables.
Yeah, they're big.
Options besides just the cake.
Yeah.
Is
not
there
everyone wants
anything
cake.
else we need to
I
throw
want
out?
cake.
You can throw out, this is a beautiful segue. How can we get more information on you, Patrice, and find your podcast and YouTube channel?
That's a good question.
As her producer, I'll just tell you myself. If you go on YouTube, she's Patrice Catan Designs, also patricecatandesigns.com, and you can catch her podcast, Tales from Behind the Veil with Patrice Catan. Rebecca, how can we find out about you?
Somethingwhitebridal.com, Something White Bridal on Instagram, and Something White Bridal on TikTok.
And Rebecca was a previous guest, so if you're just newly listening to Bridechilla, go back a few episodes and
Yeah.
check that out. She talks more about her bridal concierge services and what she learned at Market this past time, and
Lots of chatting.
more awesomeness
We could chat all day long.
all day. We'll be back and chat more. But thank you for listening, and see you soon, Chillas.
Thanks for joining us. Be sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts so you never miss an episode. Follow us on social media and visit us at thebridechilla.com. Bridechilla is a production of Evergreen Podcasts. Thanks to our producer and audio engineer, Grace Sienna Longfellow, our video editors, Kay Holmberg and Jesse Lee, and our executive producers, Bridget Coyne and Gerardo Orlando. Of course, a special thanks to our OG Bridechilla, Alicia, and to Megan Ely of OFD Consulting. I'm Leah Haslage. Until next time, Chillas.